everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you what I read in May of this year. So let's just get on with it because I've already filmed this and I'm annoyed. So the first book I read was The Planet Factory by Elizabeth Tasker. I didn't really like it. This book is about how planets are formed, which, you know, that's quite exciting, except it's too dense. It's too dense for me, and also there's not enough pictures. It should just be a picture book. That's what this book should be, or a graphic novel. In my opinion, I don't really think that, but there needs to be more heckin' pictures in it, man. Because I'm reading it like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? Every single page. You need more pictures. There's not even a picture of, like, okay, I meant diagrams when I was saying pictures, but there's not any photos of any of the things she's talking about, and I'm like, why? Because it looks so cool when you look at pictures of, like, I don't heckin' know, anything, a dromedar, whatever. That's not a planet, obviously. But, I mean, there are pictures that exist of the things she's talking about. And I just wish that there was more of that in it. So, yeah, it was all right. I gave it 3 stars. Too complicated for me. I felt like I needed some more basic writing in it, to be honest. Too dense for my liking. Next, I read The Last Family in England by Matt Haig. This is a wholesome book with a sad ending that I wasn't, you know, surprised it was going to happen, but still sad. Anyway, this is a book about a Labrador retriever called Prince, and he's trying to stitch his family back together again because they're all falling apart. I don't know why, but in these dog perspective books, you always seem to find that their family's falling apart. I've also talked more about this in my animal book perspective thing video. I loved this book. Well, not loved it, I liked this book because I love dogs. I love dogs. They're just so pure. And I want a house full of doggies. Thank you. And just reading about dogs, Labrador retrievers, which are one of my favourite breeds. I just loved it. The thing I really enjoyed about this book is the way that Matt Haig personified different breeds as well. I talk about this more again in that video. It was just an enjoyable read. And the ending, the thing is with the ending, you don't really empathise with Prince at the end, which was, I was not expecting that. I thought I was going to be in tears at the end, but I wasn't. It's still sad though. Sad, 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 sad. The next book I read was Black and British, A Short Essential History by David Alusaga. This is a book about, when did it start? I think maybe like early 19th century. I can't remember the exact start date. It's basically a history book about black lives in England. And I think it's, I'm really annoyed that I can't remember what century it starts in, but I think it's the early 19th century, working up towards the present day. So it talks about slavery in England, it talks about the Windrush movement, and even though it is a children's book, it's aimed towards, I think, maybe 10-year-olds, you do still gain a lot from it as an adult. You still learn things as an adult because this stuff is not taught to us at school in history. I did history I did up to A-level history. Black lives completely obliterated. You don't learn about it unless it's in the context of America. And I feel like the reason they do that is so that you see, oh, look at that, America's really bad for doing that. Excuse me, we did it as well. So I think this book's really important, and books like this, it's really important that they are being published because now children can actually go into their school libraries, pick them out themselves and teach themselves because it's not being taught, is it? There is this one petition that was going around a few months ago in England, or UK, I should say UK, I say England too much, and it's basically, that has been approved now, I believe. So now I think the government's trying to work on a way to teach this in schools, to teach Black history in schools, which is obviously excellent. And maybe if they base it off this book. There's also an adult version of this book. I think it would be really beneficial because it's such a concise history, but really accessible as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And if you're an adult, I would definitely recommend it as well. I haven't read the adult version, but maybe I will do that as well, just to gain more of a picture, more of an understanding. Yeah. The next book I read was The Key of Happiness. I can't pronounce Scandinavian names and I'm really annoyed. By Meek Viking. I feel like I'm getting better with my name pronunciations, but still Scandinavian I'm not very good at, and I'm sorry. I don't know what it is with some European names. Like, I think some European languages are really hard to learn, and some pronunciations I'm just like, I do not understand in my noggin. So yes, I apologise. If you know how to pronounce his name, please tell me, and then I can stop being a trash bag. Right, The Key to Happiness. I thought I was going to read that book and I'd never be sad again. I didn't really. The thing with this book, the biggest problem is that, well, first of all, it talks a little bit about financial hardship, but a lot of the reason why people were so heckin' miserable, especially in this country, is because we're all poor and paid badly for jobs that no one else wants to do, like wiping people's bottoms. You know, that's a minimum paid job. No. He doesn't really talk about that, and I feel like that's because he's from Scandinavia, and a lot of Scandinavian countries are quite socialist and are quite forward thinking about financial issues in their countries, whereas here, Tories? No. Tories don't really care about poor people, do they? Let's put it this way. And if Tories don't care about poor people, then, you know, poor people are going to have a really hard time. So how do you get out of that situation when you're really struggling financially? How do you be happy with what you have got, you know, around you? So that's what I thought this book was going to teach me, you know. I mean, I am a little bit poor, but, you know, not hugely poor. I can still afford to do things. But the thing with this book, it was too focused on community and too focused on do these things for other people and it will make you happy. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I mean, I don't have enough money to set up my own mini library like what it suggests to do. You know, like those little public libraries in, like, I don't know, phone boxes, or, you know, the kind of thing I'm talking about. How am I going to do that if I don't have enough money to do that? It's all right for heck in Denmark. Is it Denmark or Norway that has a universal basic income? I think it might be Denmark. I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea. I think we should have that in our country, and that will make me happy. There we go. Oh, if we had universal basic income, my God, that would be the dream. That would be the dream, honestly. It's not because I'm lazy, it's because the things I want to do, the jobs I want to do, is unstable. But there we go. It didn't make me happy, didn't learn much from it. I just learned that you got to be a bit privileged to be happy, sadly, and rely on other people. I don't like relying on other people. I like relying on myself to create my own happiness. Finito. Next, I read Uglies, just the first book by Scott Westerfeld. Ooh, Okay, so, I've been wanting to read this for years because of Ariel. I mention her in every video because I'm an Ariel fangirl, and oh man, I had issues with it. So the main issue I had with this book is that I found it really difficult to picture things. Like, things weren't really described that well. And you know, I don't like that when things aren't described well, because my brain, you know, it's a bit thick. It's not good at working things out. So I need the author to dish me everything out. I need all the details. That's why I love The Goldfinch, wherever it is, somewhere up there. Because things are, like, explained and described so beautifully and so well. Fantastic. This book, I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. The settings in particular. It was the settings. The thing is, this book is set in a dystopian society. I guess you could say utopian in some ways, because you've got one society, which is the Uglies. So this society is where the Uglies live. Uglies are people who haven't had an operation to make them look pretty. So in the other society, you have the pretties. When you're 16, you're supposed to get an operation to make you look pretty. Yeah, it's weird, but I thought that premise was really cool. The thing is, though, I found it hard to picture these settings that he's talking about. Another thing, the characters were pants. They were so one-dimensional, they were all boring, I had no empathy for any of them. The thing is, I don't really care if I don't have empathy for characters, that's fine, because if that's the way the writer wants them to be, that's fine. But the thing is, I think you're supposed to have empathy for these characters, and I just don't, because it's not explained well. They're not described well, they have no personality, they're boring. The end. I don't want to really continue the series because I don't think the writing's that good, and there we go. I'm disappointed and sad. Next I read, where is it? We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I don't know why I keep on going into these weird accents that I can't do. So, what this book is about, it's about this girl, I can't remember her name, and basically her granddad is really, really rich. I can't remember why. He owns his own island off the coast. I think it's off the northeastern coast of America. So maybe like New York area. I don't heckin' know. It's a fictional island anyway. And I think it's fictional. I don't know. He owns all these houses on this island basically. And, you know, it's a privileged situation obviously to be in. But it's not about that. It's about the girl, the main girl in it, who has an accident on the island. And she's trying to remember what happens after her accident because she suffers something... it doesn't actually say, I don't think. Anyway, her memory is altered and she can't really remember much after her accident. So it's about her trying to remember things, and that sounds really boring. But this is written in such a beautiful way. It is poetic. In comparison to Uglies, it's very, very beautifully written. And, well, no, it's beautifully written in its own right as well. The imagery is lovely. And just the premise of the story, which you learn throughout the book, and I don't want to tell you, that's not a premise then, is it? That's just the plot. So it follows her and her 3 other family members, except one of them who isn't a family member, who's like a step cousin. I don't know how he's related to her, I can't remember. I guess it's sort of a coming of age story as well, because you get glimpses of when they were younger as well. The ending is really fantastic. I really enjoyed the ending, and it was not something I was expecting at all, which was good, because a lot of the times in YA you can tell when something's going to happen. Let's just say that. So yeah, this was a really nice change, and it's one of those YA books that is actually written really well. And I read some YA and I'm like, oh, this is okay, but it's not really that great, is it? This is one of those books that is exceedingly well written stylistically, and it's in the canon for YA, I think. Very excellent book. So lastly, I read Strange Weather in Tokyo. I should say, regarding my TBR game, I didn't really read much of it, but I'm planning on reading the books I didn't read for that in the next month, in June. So I finished this actually in June, but I thought I'd talk about it now because it was in my last TBR game. Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. I need to breathe. I was disappointed. And I'm really sad I was disappointed. I'm going to ask you a question if you haven't read this book. What do you think this book is about? By looking at the cover and the title. Just have some thoughts. Okay, let me tell you what it's about. This is a romance book. This is a heckin' romance book. Do you get that from the title or the cover? I hate romance. I absolutely despise it. It's the worst genre ever. It's disgusting and cringy. And this wasn't it was kind of gross. I don't like the word gross, but I'm going to say it anyway. Basically, I'm going to spoil the book now for you. I'll put my hand up when I'm spoiling the book. This book is about a woman who falls in love with a man. But here's the catch. The woman used to be the man's student at high school. No, thank you. They meet again 20 years after school and they fall in love. I'm like, oh no, don't know how to feel about that. She's in her late 30s and he's in his 70s. But I don't think it's the age gap that bothers me. It's the fact that he used to be her teacher. That's weird, in my view. Am I just really backwards or something? I don't know. And the thing is, the book is just about that. It's just about them two. We don't get any other information, really, about the main character, the woman. It's just about that. I'm like, I thought there was going to be some magic in it. I thought there was going to be some floating people. I thought there was going to be some really interesting ideas through the setting. I thought the setting was going to be described in really like fluorescent means. What does that even mean? I don't know. But this is fluorescent in my opinion, isn't it? Kind of fluorescent. Not fluorescent. What am I heckin' talking about? I don't know. But I just expected it to be vivid and imaginative. And it wasn't any of those things. It was a love story. I don't like love stories. Gross. So there we go. that's what I read in May. I read some books. Hopefully June will be better. I know it's going to be better already because I've already read 2 5-star books, which I'm looking forward to telling you about. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, then thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You can just leave now. I don't mean to push you away. I'm just saying you have the option. You always had the option. I wasn't forcing you to be here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!